Hello, everyone. So, today, for my Sport Around the World project, I will be discussing the sport of Kabaddi. I'm Abigail Elliott, and I am a junior here at Robert Morris, and I'm looking forward to share all about this sport with you guys. So, if we move on to the first slide, Kabaddi originated in India. Um, this could be traced back to 4,000 years ago. So this sport has been around for a long time. It is said that this sport originated from practicing combat methods for fighting in ancient times. So in times of war, um, this was fighting methods. Obviously, since then it's changed a lot, but um, lots of people trace it back to these ancient times fighting methods. Now, moving on to the rules. The main idea of the sport is to score points by raiding into the opponent's court. So, if you look in the top left of this presentation, this is going to be what the court looks like. So, there's going to be 7 players on each side. It's 7v7 with 20-minute halves and a 5-minute halftime. So, very similar to a lot of sports we have now. I know lacrosse is 25-minute halves with a 5-minute halftime, so those halves may vary a little bit, but the rules right now are 20-minute halves. So, how do I exactly play Kabaddi? So, the raider crosses into the other team's court and tags as many defensive players as possible. By tagging, that can entail tackling, hitting. It can get a little violent. But as I conducted my research, I noticed a lot of change in rules in the most recent years. As the game is developing, so are the rules, very similar to a lot of sports today. So these are kind of the old school rules that I have below. They must hold their breath and say, Kabaddi, Kabaddi. The raider needs to return to their half without being tackled. Chanting Kabaddi was used to be a signal to the referee that the raid was happening and you had to hold your breath while saying Kabaddi. I'm not exactly sure how that works, but a lot of sources said that this was a crucial part of the game back in the day. Moving on to scoring opportunities. Here is another visual of the court. It gives more specific measurements. Each team will win a point if you eliminate a player from the opposing side. So, like I mentioned before, you're trying to tag or tackle the opposing side. It reminds me a little bit of flag football minus all the first and 10 and that kind of things. Touching opposing members eliminates players. When playing defense, a point is earned when a raider doesn't return to their half, because once you get tagged, you're out. And some versions, you can score extra points by touching a bonus line. The bonus line is showed in this visual, but not all places play with this bonus line. Moving on to national and international governing bodies, we have the World Kabaddi Federation. So this is the first ever international federation. It was founded in 2003, so pretty recent. That's when I was born. And then we also have the All India Kabaddi Federation. So this is a little older. It's more of a national governing body, regulates championships and those bigger tournaments. And then we move on to the Amateur Kabaddi Federation of India, AKFI, and this is for overseeing and developing Kabaddi in India. So this is watching over the growth, helping it become more prevalent in schools, just making it more of a traditional sport in India and other countries surrounding India. So as we move on, where is Kabaddi played? So we've mentioned India a few times because this is where it was developed. This is where it is still played. We do have a few other countries like Iran, Bangladesh, Nepal, who have declared kabaddi as their national sport, which is awesome. Um, but as kabaddi develops, more and more people are beginning to recognize it, such as the European Kabaddi Federation in Italy. And then the first ever match played in New York was the England women's kabaddi team, and we beat the USA team. So originally, I didn't even know we had a team here in the USA, but I think they put together a team specifically for this match held in New York. Participation rates around the world. Kabaddi is introduced and taught from a very young age in Nepali schools. So we mentioned in the slide previous that it is their national sport. So I would think it would be taught younger, typically starting in the third grade. So here in the US, I feel like soccer and football begins in the third grade. So that's pretty similar. Kabaddi is a national sport played in India, as we mentioned multiple times. So lots of people in India play this sport. It is not in the Olympics, maybe one day, because it is becoming such a prevalent sport. India is one of the few places with a professional team. And the standard style is a discipline played by major professional leagues and events within India and the surrounding countries, but not around the world quite yet. So, profile of participants. Obviously, anyone is welcome to play this sport. It is continuing to spread, and but here's just a little details about who plays it right now. Primarily from rural areas with low, moderate socioeconomic status. It's not very expensive to play kabaddi, which is awesome. So that just includes more people. And because sports do become expensive, especially if you start to play it at higher levels, you need new cleats, you need new rackets, sticks, balls, gear. So it does become expensive. So it is nice that this sport doesn't require a lot of gear. Women have become more prevalent in the game recently. A little example would be in 2023, there was a competition, and it was only for women. So we love to see women get more involved in sports, and not only in the management side of sport, but the participation part of sport as well. So this is awesome to see. Moving on, there are a few main events that caught my attention. The Kabaddi World Cup. So this is one of the biggest international kabaddi tournaments. Participation from nations all over the world. So because there is a lack of professional teams, I think anyone who does have a team does participate in this cup. There is the Asian Kabaddi Championship. National teams compete against each other. And then the Pro Kabaddi League. So it is not international, but in India it is very well known and televised, and lots of people look forward to watching this. As far as media coverage, so the polls to the left are polls taken in India. So if you look at the top chart, do you prefer watching kabaddi? A lot of people enjoy watching it. And a lot of people watch it online, not necessarily looking at stats or social media. It's more of television. So if we move over to the text, TV viewership has increased by 56% since 2014. That is an insane increase. So it's great to see that more people are watching this sport and appreciating it. Star has kept the rights for television from 2021 to 2025. And Star India is reportedly expected to pay more than 24.1 million annually, according to media sources, for these media rights, which is very awesome. So in terms of sponsorship, their on-ground sponsor in India is to be worth roughly 18 million US dollars. The Star Sport, which is the television coverage, is also the sponsor. So up until 2016, they started taking over in 2017, and now Vivo has sponsor as well. So it's cool to see them share sponsorships, and I would like to see an increase of sponsorships because Kabaddi is so big in India and there are so many companies within India. It would be cool to have more than just two sponsorships. As far as licensed products, there are not a ton of licensed products. Obviously, you have your gear that you wear, which lack of, you wear a uniform. The Indian market for branded goods is rising in licensed merchandise because people are buying sports gear kind of thing, but there is no necessarily jerseys for sale or t-shirts or pants that represent a player. Young people and millennials who are passionate about sports, want to cheer their favorite players, are the main drivers of the products. But I do think along with the sponsorship, that licensed products will grow as the sport grows because that viewership has risen so much. Then we move on to some random facts. So I am an athlete at Robert Morris, so obviously I was curious on what the injury rates looked like for the sport. Like any sport, a knee injury is the most common. 76 Kabaddi players were represented in this chart, and they all had injuries. And unfortunately, they were all knee injuries. So ACL is the most prevalent, and then it goes down to MCL, and then we have your MM, and if you look at the chart, it does a good job displaying that. But I just thought it was interesting that the knee is the most injured, gets the most injured in the sport because you find that common in a lot of sports today. And then this is another visual of attendance growth. So the last visual was television growth. So this is attendance growth. So you go from 217 million to 302 million. So it's really awesome to see that growth in just 1 year. So 39% over the last season. So this is, the audience is in India, and this was conducted by SMGU government. So, and then a few fun facts to end with. Kabaddi is one of the oldest sports. So as I mentioned on that first slide, 4,000 years old. So obviously it has changed a lot since then, but it is really cool to follow along and watch this sport alter and change with the world around us. India's 1936 Olympic demonstration of Kabaddi brought the sport to attention of the world. So although it is not in the Olympics, this demonstration showed other countries that the sport is important to India and other countries who do have this as their national sport. And then the second season of the PKL will feature representation from 34 countries. So 34 is a ton as opposed to the few countries that it is their national sport, or the few countries that are obviously practicing the sport. So, and then my next slide is just my works cited. I really appreciated studying the sport. This is something I knew nothing about. So I look forward to watching the sport grow and seeing an increase of licensed product sponsorship, people playing it in different countries, and I hopefully would love to watch a game sometime. So thank you for listening, and I hope you guys had a great Thanksgiving.